Oh, okay, cool. Hello, everybody. I'm Charlie. This is Alex. So we're gonna be talking about how to plan your build season and build your robot. Um, so first, you gotta. It's all focused on the engineering design process or strategic design, which is just solving problems through engineering, of course. And the key concept of this is to design your strategy, which is going to be different for every team, and then your robot around that strategy. So this is our engineering design process that we've kind of put together with a bunch of steps. So you got to evaluate your resources, set team goals, define the problem, generate specifications, rank those specifications, generate design concepts, prototype, choose a concept, detailed design, design review, manufacture, analyze results, and then repeat this process throughout the whole season and even the off season. And we're going to go into detail on all these steps as well. All right, yeah, these, you've probably already done some of these before kickoff, or I hope so. Obviously, these two things are happening all the time, evaluating your resources, setting team goals. Those should be done before the season, before kickoff, just so you know what you're getting into as we start today. And then defining the problem. That's going to be today and tomorrow, maybe Monday, sometime this week, first week of kickoff. Reading the rules is a big part of this, and trying to figure out what you're going to do with the game. And then strategy freeze and designing concepts. This is like early build season, first couple of weeks before you really have, you may have like a chassis and just trying to figure out what mechanisms you're going to do to meet your specifications. And then the rest of build and competition season is obviously prototyping, choosing your design, making that design, and then competing. And then after competition, reviewing your design, making changes before your next competition or before next year. So first, you gotta evaluate your resources. So one of the most important things to take into account is your size and experience. Every team is built differently. Some teams have people who have been in first, for 4 years, and there's teams that are maybe lower in membership and in experience than others. And then the other important thing is knowing how much time you have. That's probably the most important thing, is trying to figure out how you need to use your time and to the most of your ability. And then obviously access to tools and materials, also very important and very constricting as well. Budget, event schedule, and then just mentors and connections. Those are just experience things as well. Kind of go with team size and experience. But they should not really be overlooked when going through this process. And then number 2 is setting team goals. So these are our team goals at the bottom. Not all of them, but these are some of our team goals. Team goals are meant to be not overly challenging, but also not too easy. Like you shouldn't have all your goals be extremely ambitious and not be able to meet them. They should be hard to accomplish, but they should be achievable. So, like for example, a goal we wouldn't have would be to win the world championship. We'd love to do so, but it wouldn't be one of our team goals because it's not really what we're striving for this season. But like make it to a championship division finals could be a great example for a team, or be an alliance captain. Make sure that everyone on your team knows these goals and they're presented in a way that everyone can see them at all times. We have ours on posters. I think they're on the next slide. And make sure that everyone is able to see your progress on these goals and make it like a little checklist. Like just check them off as you go. And it's okay to not meet all of your goals. We often don't, and you shouldn't. It's kind of a standard of good goal setting if you don't meet all your goals, because then you have more to work on next year and more goals to generate. These are our last few years of goal setting. So we have our 2023 charged up rules, and we kind of decided that there were too many rules that year. So for the next 2 years, last year and this year, we've kind of simplified our goals list down to fewer, more specific goals. But as you can see, not all of our goals are met every year, and very few of them stay constant throughout all 3 years because we're always reevaluating our resources and our goals, or our I guess ambitions for every year to see what we want to achieve. So this year, some of our most important is community service based, and all based on like performance at events. Whereas in Charged Up, we had a bunch of different robot goals where we barely have any this year. Because that was a big focus for us that year, was having a very strong and reliable robot. This is more about setting goals. The goals also help in setting your strategy. Like if your strategy is to be an alliance captain, you want to be able to place highly, whereas like someone who just wants to play on a playoff alliance might be more particular to 1 or 2 goals in the game. Like last year, if you just did like speaker and being able to climb, you could be a good second robot, but not necessarily an alliance captain at every event, or an amp only robot. I mean, it'll be different this year, obviously, but it is very driven by the game. Make sure your team buys into your goals. Our team leadership team sets our goals, but we also like to have a little bit of input outside to make sure that our goals are understandable and achievable, because it's on all of the team to get the goals done. Communicating is also a big part with the posters. I've already gone over that. You shouldn't achieve all your goals. It's okay to not achieve goals. It does kind of suck at the time, but it's good to have goals that you don't always achieve. It's good to be ambitious, and it's good to keep generating more goals off those ambitions. There's a balance to find with over and underreaching too. Not everything's gonna be like, you shouldn't make all your goals like unachievably hard. That's not a good plan. And also, making them too easy is not good either. We always like to have a few that we're pretty sure we're gonna achieve, and a few that we probably will not achieve. Like if I go back, there we go. Like some of these, especially last year, like winning Smoky Mountain Regional was obviously kind of a long shot. I mean, it was in the realm of possibility, but we weren't necessarily 100% sure we were going to achieve that goal. But like weekly social media posts was an easier one to check off, just so we could have that check mark, make people feel good. It feels good to achieve goals. Set milestones and deadlines based on your goals. That's also very important. Almost everything's based on your goals. And then every time you have an event, kind of add a new goal for it. Like if you go to World Championships, maybe do better at Worlds you did than last year, or make it to Worlds. And then a timeline is very important. We started doing timelines recently. You always want to integrate strategy freezes, design freezes, like goals for when your robot should be assembled. Obviously, there's going to be some circumstances that are against your control, but trying to stick to a general timeline helps speed up the design process and keeps everyone on track. And then use your goals to decide how much time is needed between each deadline. So like, I don't know what these, like weeks maybe. Like maybe after the first 4 weeks you should have a V1 robot, or our design freeze is almost always on our second week. Our strategy freeze, on the first week. We like to do our strategy freeze exactly about a week after kickoff. Maybe the first Monday after kickoff. So a week from Monday. And we just like to be able to take a day and kind of think about what we're actually going to do. Have a week to read over the rules, decide our game strategy, and then we don't really like to talk mechanisms before this point. Obviously there's a little bit, but and then after your strategy freeze, you start working on your design. Obviously deciding dimensions, height, that's dimensions. Dimensions, maybe some mechanisms, That's where you start talking about how you're actually going to achieve your robot goals. And then the design freeze at the end of week 2. This is not like you stop designing at all. Just you kind of have a general idea of what you're going to do, and then you go back to prototyping and making those things better, like climber hooks or shooters. And then we like to have a V1 robot, like a very simplistic, just it could run, but not like it's not perfect yet. But our V1 robot likes to be assembled after the first month. That's just like drivetrain, simple mechanisms to play the game. Yeah, this was our robot after the first month last year. Just very simplistic, very different than our final robot. That is able to run, and we're able to reanalyze and redesign things off of it. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, before you build a robot, you absolutely have to know how to play the game. And the way you know how to play the game is you read the rules. The rules completely govern all of your design decisions, your strategy, how your robot comes together. So you need to always take into consideration the basic FRC rules that a lot of you are probably already familiar with. No tipping, no pinning for more than 5 to 6 seconds, no entangling, grabbing, etc., no intentional damage, no intentionally leaving parts of your robot on the field. Don't make your robots intended to destroy other robots. Just great professionalism there, good sportsmanship. Other robot height. So for game-specific constraints, are the robot height limits that may affect if you get how difficult it is to score a certain type of points. How many game pieces can you control? So how many game pieces you control, that factors a lot into mechanisms, or you need to make something that indexes, or you need something that just picks up one thing and does something with it. Or protected zones on the field. That will be important for your drive strategy and your kind of plan of how your robot will move around the field. Where the score implications for committing penalties or fouls, this factors into your strategy. How loose can you play? How many risks you can take in a game, and how severely you will be punished if they don't pay off. So, for example, this is a set of points from 2018. So you can see that there's only a couple of ways to gain points, which is scoring the vault and owning the two different the scale and the switch, and also the power-ups. I kind of forgot how those work.
Yeah, the power-ups.
Yeah. But so you need to take this into consideration. Okay, so do we want to focus on owning the scale or the switch, or do we want to focus on shelling pieces into the vault really fast? So you have to account for all of that in your strategy discussion, and eventually your design discussion when that comes up. So read the rules. So if your robot doesn't pass inspection because it doesn't follow the rules, then you can't compete, which is kind of what you come to events to do. So make sure you follow frame perimeter and bumper rules. Make sure you follow the robot weight restrictions. Set up your control system wiring and pneumatics correctly so everything works. So specific rules apply to what the robot can and cannot do. So appoint a rules expert to track team updates and Q&A. Team updates release, I believe, every Tuesday and Thursday, or Tuesday and Friday. The team updates release twice a week, and sometimes they include updates to rules. So make sure you are on top of all of those, because there is the possibility. It's probably not very high, but there is the possibility that a team update could require you to change your strategy. Otherwise, it would not be legal for the game. So make sure you're absolutely on top of those. Otherwise, you could be in a very sticky situation. So, key section of the game manual is introduction, season overview, sponsor recognition, the game overview, which is the the first thing you should read to get a general idea of what you should be looking for in the game manual, and then everything from section 5 to section 7 is how the game is played. So you need to make sure you know that to what do we prioritize in terms of point scoring? What do we prioritize in terms of is defense very effective here? Should we make a fast robot or a supporting robot that does maybe some of the goals to help our team members get more points? So, and then robot construction rules. This will factor into your strategy. For example, if your robot needs to be a certain size to pass through a certain point on the field, such as underneath the stage in Crescendo, you need to take into account, okay, is that something that we want to try and do? And road construction will especially become important when you're going into the design phase. Section 9 through 14 is kind of just the stuff you don't really need to worry about until you're going into competitions. It's just like how events work and stuff. So yeah, start here, arena, game details, game rules, road construction rules, and tournaments, yeah. The rest, you should probably read the rest, but these are the parts that really, really matter, and the parts that you absolutely want to know like the back of your hand.
Also, be sure to do the rules quiz.
Yeah.
Citrus Circuits releases it today.
Yeah. They do it pretty much every year, right?
Yeah, every year they have a rules quiz. It's not easy, but we like to try and all get at least 80% of the team. The goal is 100%, but on our team, you are required to pass the rules quiz before intaking in strategy decisions, and that'll be released at 2 p.m. today. Yeah.
How late do you recommend?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone good? Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to generate specifications. So things your robot can do. So like move, score. That's probably not very useful. Any robot will move and score. So the more specific the better. So drive 16 feet per second or 10 points in auto. Hold 10 game objects at once. So make sure. So when doing this, make sure your robot obeys the laws of physics, because physics are kind of important. You'll find yourself in a corner if your strategy does not obey the laws of physics. So that's an important thing to take into consideration. So rank specifications. So there are Cartridge golden rules, which are like kind of the gold standard for how you should go about your strategy in first. Number 1, always build within your team's limits. So taking into consideration what you do, like, do you like have something like a water jet? Do you have like a laser cutter? You have like a CNC. If you have some of those, then you can know what kind of mechanisms you can do with what kind of mechanisms you can do. But if you don't have some of those, you might have to consider what you can make with the tools you have. So, rule 2, if a team has 30 units of robot and functions have a maximum of 10 units, it's better to have 3 robot functions at 10 out of 10 than 5 robot functions at 6 out of 10. So basically means that a jack of all trades, master of none robots will generally not perform very well. You want your robot to be really good at a selection of things, not just one thing, because if you're really good at just one thing, you are going to be way too dependent on your alliance to perform well. If you're good at a selection of things, then you can support your alliance and many different alliances, so you won't get if you get unlucky in quals, you won't just fall flat. But you will be really good at those things that you can do, instead of being able to do everything and just being subpar in all of those things. So you want to rate your specifications for what you want your robot to do. So NA is not attempting. You want to even try. That's for things that you think are completely unrealistic. For example, I think Trap was one of our things for that last year.
Yeah, it was.
like Trap last year, which was incredibly difficult to do, and for most people it was hardly worth it. So that's the sort of thing that you could put in not attempting. So W is wish, which is not critical but would be nice. That means like if you find a way that you can do it, you will do it, but this isn't like an absolute necessity for your robot to perform. preferred is important, but you will work without it. This is something that you probably want, but is not exactly critical. Chances are you will want to have this, and demand is critical. You absolutely must do this. For example, last year you absolutely must be able to score amp or score speaker depending on your strategy,
Or move.
or move. That's probably demand most of the time.
Maybe not. We'll see.
Maybe. So you can add additional details. So W is score notes and speaker in stage area, score notes and speaker from podiums, or score notes and speaker from subwoofer. So there's different methods of which you can achieve things, can also be subcategorized, and you can basically get as specific as you want here. But getting too general will leave you confused in the design phase. So yeah, cost benefit analysis. How hard will this be, and how hard will this be to achieve, and how much will it benefit us? If it's an extreme amount of effort compared to very low benefit, for example, scoring trap, it will probably be a better use of your time to focus on getting better at the other things instead of trying to do that incredibly difficult thing that is probably impractical. Yeah, so it's a difficulty versus advantage trade-off. How much does it cost in money, weight, volume, time, center of gravity, penalty, risk, etc., and how much does it help you win a match? Identify the easy stuff that is worth a lot of points, because if it's easy and it's worth a lot of points, you should be doing it, because that's how you get a lot of points easily. So after all this discussion, there is the strategy freeze, where you have your strategy set in stone, and now you're going to move on to the design phase and fulfill that strategy. So you want to figure out how to accomplish the what, brainstorm with teammates. As many opinions as possible is best. So for this, not everybody has a perfect idea of everything, so you can research previous FRC FTC facts, again, Chief.Python, Blue Alliance, FRC Mechanism Encyclopedia, YouTube search, RA3D teams. All of this you can use to inspire your design and think maybe we could use this design for an indexer, or maybe this sort of grabber will interface with this game piece really well. So you can take other sources of inspiration, because nothing under the sun is original. Your robot at the end will probably be a Frankenstein monster of various different mechanisms from across the years. So yeah, think about robot structure. We have here some 2023 and 4. Yeah, 2023 and 4. Actually, I think this is all just 2024.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So we have, for example, stuff like crayon pad. Just generally blocking out geometry. Will stuff be big enough? There's whiteboards, big mechanism discussion on whiteboards, and more complete CAD. Don't rule out any ideas. Consider absolutely everything. Categorize them so you can think about it more easier. Quick sketches, crayon CAD, what we have on the side here. Remove things that don't fit specifications. If something won't achieve what you want to achieve, then you shouldn't spend your time considering it, and instead spend your time considering things that will achieve what you're looking for. So discuss down to basically narrow the amount of concepts for robot part or subsystem to allow yourself to really look into those parts and see which one would be best. And welcome everyone to speak up. As many voices as possible is best. Do not feel like you shouldn't point out a flaw in a mechanism because we've already gotten kind of far with it. Because the faster we find out how things are wrong, the faster you can improve on those things that are wrong, and therefore improve the final construction of your robot. Yeah. So prototyping is kind of covered in the last slide, but prototype has a few different ideas for each robo part. You find the flaws, correct them in the next version, and just repeat that. The prototype should give you information or data like, does it fail to pick up the game pieces how this much of the time? Does it get jammed a lot? So you want to take all that into consideration during the repetition of prototyping, collecting data, and etc. So minor strategy adjustments may happen depending on what you find in your prototyping, and the key is to fail faster. You want to make sure that when you make something, you want to figure out how it sucks really fast, and then make something that probably sucks a bit less, and then find out how that thing sucks. So if you repeat that over and over again, eventually you make a thing that doesn't suck anymore. And then that's what you put on your robots. So these are a bunch. Okay.
We won't play all of these,
We
but
won't play
we'll
all
play a
of
few
these.
of them.
But screw it, all of them at once.
Okay, cool.
So you can see all of our different things that are not working particularly well. So we had a lot of failures last year. The thing is, we learned from all of them, and we used what we learned from those failures. Okay, last one. Yeah, and eventually you get something that works. But you will be a rocky road to get there, but every single bump tells you something new. There's also plenty of prototyping. This is from Charged Up. So we have like very simple like Lego models for like a virtual 4-bar mechanism. And then it eventually becomes a regular 4-bar, and then it becomes a stripper. And then it becomes this arm mechanism. So we have a simple mechanism for a claw grabber with like rubber tubes to grab onto game pieces. You can see it working like that. Then we have a version with wheels. And then, I'm not sure what this one's about.
That was the updated one.
Oh yeah, that's the updated weird. Yeah, that's the updated
Become
weird. 7546. Then eventually, we have our finished gripper, which worked pretty well. Got us the world.
Yeah.
So once you're done with all the programming, choose a concept. We want to make sure we have consensus on what works, and that what you choose is based on how well it works, not how cool it is. Although cool is definitely a factor, but it shouldn't be a primary factor. It should be how well it works. So this quantitative reasoning, like based on the numbers, and how reliable is it compared to the other prototypes? That should be the main thing that determines what prototypes you use. So you use also your weighted objectives table. What does it achieve? Does it achieve the things that you want to achieve? And also, don't make personal attachments to your prototypes and concepts. This was a problem for us in some years, which kind of prevented us from seeing the flaws in certain prototypes because we wanted them to work. This is something I was very much at fault for as well. And no voting, because voting will just leave the people that were not that voted for the thing that didn't win unhappy. You want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Video.
Yeah. Yeah, that was us thinking of using an energy chain.
Yeah,
That
we
was
did,
that?
an energy chain.
Energy chain as an actuator for our arm. So after this, it's a thing you put wires inside.
Okay.
It's not a structural thing. This is not what that was meant to do. So after all this, it's your design freeze. So yeah. So when you reach your design, if you don't say it's CAD time. CAD team is now working overtime as I am working on this presentation. So draw out systems, think about full systems integration, how is everything put together. So design review. So explain your design to mentors and teammates. See if they see anything that is like wrong with it that you may have overlooked, because chances are you've probably gone blind to some flaws at this point. So look for similar examples, get feedback. Does this design match specifications? Is it reasonable? Yeah. So manufacture and assemble, build a robot, test, compete, analyze results. How do you do? Each practice match events. Your first event will tell you a lot about how your robot performs. And be honest. So if something, don't like delude yourself and saying, no, it'll work. If it didn't work, fix it. Don't just say, no, it'll work next time. So and you repeat this until the next kickoff pretty much. You iterate and improve, and you keep on improving repeatedly. Okay. Any questions?
Could you show us the exact rules that says when robots have to obey the laws of physics?
Are you
I thought that was
not
in there.
certain about that one, or?
Yes.
I think I
What
can-
is the punishment if our robots don't obey the law?
They usually break or don't do what you want them to. Or maybe Newton's ghost gets up and punches you in the face.
I think the punishment is with the universe itself, not like. I think that's outside of the hands of.
I think you're more likely to win a Nobel Prize than a like FRC game with a laws of physics breaking robot.
But a Nobel Prize is good for team visibility.
Which is why it ties back to your season goals. Your season goal is to win a Nobel Prize, not to win. You know?
I don't think that's a great.
What do you recommend splitting the robot up into subsystems?
Splitting the robot up into subsystems. So that's actually a very good question. So the robot will be composed of subsystems because it will be doing more than one thing. So splitting the subsystems is actually incredibly dependent on what the game is and what you want the robot to achieve and what your prototypes are. So if you have like a bunch of different game pieces, but you have a subsystem that interacts with all of them, then you'll have your subsystem. So for example, our robot last year had basically just three subsystems, which was the shooter, the intake, and the arm. That was basically just it. Because there wasn't many things to do. And the arm was actually dual purpose for both moving the shooter and also climbing. So, but you may have your climber separate from your arm. So how you split up subsystems really depends on what your mechanisms are. So I'm not certain I can give a one size fits all answer for that, but it just really depends. And try to split your subsystems up like intelligently.
Yeah, by functionality.
Yeah, by functionality. What they do.
Any other questions?
I think we're good to wrap up.
Thank you so much for listening.